Jump aboard our mechs as Morgan and KP explore the great world of Lightyear Frontier in this first look. Frame Break and Amplifier Studios developed Lightyear Frontier using Unreal Engine 4. The game is an open-world farming adventure set on a planet at the far edge of the galaxy. Climb into your mech and start making the new planet your home with up to 3 of your friends. In the game, you can farm alien crops, build your own homestead, and explore the untamed wilderness of the world. That's exactly what Morgan and I did in this fun adventure. Let's dive into the gameplay, where you can play the game on either a controller or a mouse and keyboard. I chose to use my controller for the game. At the beginning, the game gives you an idea of how the mechanics work by letting you know that pushing down on the left stick on the controller enables sprinting. The game never abandons you, letting you know what controls to press in order to build, pick up items, and even how to enter your mech. As for movement, it felt very smooth, and I even told Morgan that it felt like it was playing a bit like MechWarrior. There were times where I would be sprinting and it felt as if the mech was sliding, especially when I was trying to turn. But the overall experience with the controller was pleasant and great for anyone who gets hand fatigue from using a mouse and keyboard, or just wants to switch it up. But Morgan opted for mouse and keyboard and had this to say.
Hey everyone, Morgan here. As for the experience of Lightyear Frontier on mouse and keyboard, it felt super smooth. The keys I needed were all within comfortable reach, and the fact the game always has guides on how to open a workbench or what the mouse buttons do when interacting with things makes it super convenient. I second KP's opinion about how the movement felt very smooth. The visuals of the mech inside and out made me feel of the mechs we see in Avatar. Yes, the blue people one.
Now to the art design. From day to night, the world is super vibrant. Every chance Morgan and I got, we would just stare at the beauty, whether that was the gorgeous skybox or the amazing views from our new homestead. But while the world itself was amazing to look at, Morgan found one area of the game that really stood out, and that's sizing.
The sizing of this world and even ourselves within it is really unique. By no means are our mechs small, and when you're inside them you definitely feel bigger than most things around you, but not to an insane extent where you feel like the environment is warped. When outside of your mech, you are much smaller in comparison to your mech, which makes sense, but you're actually much smaller than a lot of things in the world. For example, the native birds tower over you. Your planter for crops, which you do all the work in your mech, are much larger, where it makes you feel like you're a kid who can just see over the dining table when standing. And while on the topic of sizing, when we opened the map, we were pleasantly surprised to see that the world we get to explore is really sizable as well.
Whether you are chilling at your home base, or exploring an area where you find artifacts to scan, the game adds different music based on your location. Besides music, the developers added a nice touch with the natural sounds. For instance, the waves crashing against the sand, or the raindrops falling on your mech's chassis while you're exploring. While Morgan and I have only scratched the surface of NPCs in this game, the voice tracks for the first one you sorta meet is, well, surprising.
Those new mech parts made a world of difference. The best looking ride in the Frontier for sure.
Yep, we both weren't expecting that when we heard her talk, but after a while she seems to fit in nicely. Overall, if you're looking for a game where you aren't running and gunning, then you found it. The only enemies in this game are noxious slime and weeds, in which you either wash away the slime or pull up the weeds. This game released on March 19th and has already seen several updates according to their roadmap. The developers made quality of life improvements, added new decorations, and fixed bugs. But the big update came out last month, Neighbors and Animals. This update brings a new mechanic to the game, the animal care system, which might be different than feeding the wildlife in the game. Morgan explains more on how that part of the game mechanic works.
The animal care system is where you build a barn, obtain pets, and care for them. Though we did not get to that step, we did learn how to feed the wildlife. In the game, you can create what is called fodder. This is a type of feed you create for animals. You can feed it to the wildlife individually, or if you find their nest, You can feed the nest that feeds all of the creatures that reside there. This isn't directly the game's animal care system, and sadly, I did not get a chance to feed all the wildlife in the game. However, for those we did feed, we noticed cute glowing particles and hearts around it. Hopefully the animal care system mechanic is as easy as feeding the wildlife.
And the developers have more plans for future releases, such as expanding the world, adding more story, and new features to the game. And there will be more adventures ahead, but until then, this is Morgan and KP with your first look at Lightyear Frontier.